Hey, what's up, y'all? What's up? It's me, K, and I am here as always with my brother. Well, we can say from another mother, and that works. Alpha, what's up, brother?
How are we doing today? We're back again once again, this time to talk some comics and shit. And as always, with these episodes, we lead it with some Marvel, and we're going to do that again with the next episodes of Loki.
Oh yeah, guys. This is a very short series. We talked episodes 1, 2, and 3 a couple of weeks ago, and gave y'all some good insight. But episodes 4 and 5 have really begun to pick shit up, and episode 6 looks to blow your mind next week. One quick second before we dive into it. In episode 8 or episode 5, there's an appearance by Frog Thor.
And you called it before I could.
No, hold on. This is just a side note that I heard. He grunts, and supposedly that was actually Chris Hemsworth that did the grunts for Frog Thor.
Oh my fucking god!
I'm gonna how authentic Marvel kept
it. I'm gonna gush about that specifically.
Okay.
I'm gonna gush about that specifically in a minute.
All right.
So I want to hear your thoughts before I go absolutely ham over these Loki episodes. But I will say yes, among many things. It's fucking amazing. Chris Hemsworth voiced fucking Throg. I didn't catch that. That's funny. That's really fucking funny.
Just a little quick factoid to jump you off there. All right, so let's dig in. So episode 4 saw us kind of at a peak. I believe did they get off Lamentus in 3? I don't think they did. When we left 3, they were stuck in Lamentus. I forget how they got off.
No, when we finished off at 3. They were on Lamentus, and then when we came around, we finished off 3 with them watching their only escape from Lamentus go up in flames, quite literally. Right. And then in the beginning of 4, they sat down and had that little moment, and that timeline that was made from that moment was what caused them to be picked up by the TVA and then taken right back to the pound.
Yeah, where they got to sit before the timekeepers. Yeah, we found out a lot of big things about the timekeepers in this particular episode. Well, we saw one particular TVA agent really have her faith shooken. Like but the possible worst part of it was right before Loki and Sylvie get to go see.
Oh, hold up. Did we say that every member of the TVA is a variant? Like confirmed, I think every member. I don't know if we talked about that in the last one, but yes, every member of the TVA is a variant, and not only because of that, old boy Mobius had a face turn.
Yeah, well, I'll say, but Hunter is her name, the black chick. And we'll get to her scene in episode 5 that made me say she's one of the most badass TVA agents ever. Love her. But in episode 4, they get caught. She actually takes Sylvie, and because when Sylvie enchanted her, she saw something. And that's how she kind of put together that they were all variants and asked Sylvie to show her. But yeah, that was a big reveal. And to find out that basically the timekeepers, whomever they are or whatever they are, decided to pluck these people to come work at this TVA and wipe their minds. But
I think it's really cool that they didn't really like show any flashes of her life. You know, I think it's really cool that it was just all in her head. You know, usually they would the AAA budget here would go for something a little bit deeper than that. I like that only she saw it. Yeah, I actually really like that small little bit, but that's just as an ad lib. Go ahead though.
But yes, as Alpha hinted to earlier, we also got the Morbius face turn, where he tells Raven or Reneva or whatever her name is.
I have even forgotten her name, but he says
he tells her,
bitch.
Yeah, he's like, you want to know where I'd like to go if I can go anywhere in time? To wherever I'm actually from. That'd be nice. I was just like, damn. And so they pruned old Morpheus, and that just sucked. Made me cry a tear. And they pruned old Morpheus. They take Loki and Sylvie before the timekeepers. Timekeepers are passing judgment and doing their thing. And I forget how they break loose and end up fighting.
Down, gives them weapons. They all get into the fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And great fight. Good old Sylvie with her woo-wee, threw that knife or threw that sword and chopped the head off in one swipe. Just whoo, it was done. Only to find out that in this particular universe, the timekeepers are not real.
Oh no. The timekeepers don't exist at all. They're nothing but a machination. Always have been.
And so
there never was the timekeepers. And so you'll see that this whole on-running theme with celestials being referenced as we run along here, but you'll see these ones just quite aren't.
Aren't, yeah. And so great battle ensues. Sylvie and Loki seem to have the upper hand, and all of a sudden Loki's going to profess his love for Sylvie, or as a lot of memes said, profess his love for himself. I'll say, and he gets pruned. And I'm going to be honest with you, it left me asking, is this series about her?
And that's immediately what I did. I was like, oh wait, no. It's just Loki. They were never specific about it. It could just as easily be about her.
Yep.
And in that moment, I had that same exact thought process. This episode was one bombshell after another. I finished this episode just in like, fuck.
Whoa,
and then obviously at the very end of the literally right away, of course, I was kind of not. I didn't like it at first, only because it's like, oh, it immediately showed that Loki was fine right after, you know. But I was fine with that because it immediately revealed a cast and host of 5 other fucking Lokis that we'd be divulging into the episode, which it would really begin to snowball and gain momentum in the fan category.
Yes.
This episode.
Well, before we dive into it, let's talk about the fact that episode so far, episode 4, has been the only one that's had a post-credit scene.
You're right.
You know, and I think it was to not leave you waiting another week and wondering if Loki was still alive, but giving you the answer immediately, and not only showing you is Loki still alive, but now Loki has allies. And where are we going from here? Because for those of you who don't know what the scene was, Loki gets pruned and he wakes up in this field, in this universe, and he's like, what the fuck? And he looks up and there's Kid Loki, an alligator, black dude that looks like more like Thor, but is wearing the Loki horns and holding a hammer, and then classic Loki. Yeah. They're like, come with us if you want to live. So of course, you know, who's not going to trust themselves, you know?
Literally.
Yeah. So that led us to episode 5, which was Journey to Mystery. This episode answered a lot of questions and gave us a lot of great moments and gave us my favorite character in all of Lokidom ever. And we'll get to him in a second. But yeah, so we open up with the scene where Loki's waking up and seeing the other Lokis. And you know, I don't know if you did, but I know I was one of the first, like within the first 30 seconds of that scene, to go, why the fuck is there a crocodile with Loki with a Loki crown on?
I immediately caught it, but I can see immediately you're just like, what the fuck is that? Impeccably, best Loki of the show.
Yes, by far.
But God, yes, this episode was one fan service punch after another. So I'm gonna roll a bit of a TLDR for this episode, so we can go right into what was fucking canonized in the MCU through this episode. And so we have our Lokis have a bit of a spat before eventually our main Loki decides to stick with the new Lokis that we found. And after going into this nuclear warhead bunker of some sorts to chill together, they all have a nice little talk about Sylvie and everything and all their powers and everything. And through this, we find that original OG Golden Age Loki is true to the name and as such only uses all different types of illusions instead of having any form of weapon. Whereas on the other hand, we have War Loki, which is Loki who is more akin to fucking Thor. And then we have Kid Loki, which I was way looking forward to with this. This is where shit's gonna get fucking great. And then of course we have Alligator Loki, who is the thwart to the Pet Avengers, which I'll get back into those motherfuckers later. Actual real shit. Actual universe.
I know, but it's just hilarious.
No, that's the point. But they have their talk, and eventually main Loki goes to leave and is stopped by fucking President Loki. And so President Loki brings him down there with his crew of marauders, and through one form of another, Lokis do what Lokis do, and War Loki betrays the other Lokis to side with President Loki, in which the marauders immediately turn on President Loki, and then President Loki gets his fucking hand bit off. And so all of our Lokis by Crocodile Loki. And so for the most part, our main Lokis leave and then find themselves with Sylvie and Mobius, who group together.
Now hold on, before you go forward, I have to address the scene where Loki's standing in the corner, holding his nose, ashamed, watching himself, watching all the Lokis beat up on each other, just like, God.
Knees. It's good. It's great.
Somebody set up a caption of that thing talking about me looking at drunk me.
That's good.
But no,
That's
but go ahead. Yeah.
That's good.
I just had to bring that up because I was like, that was an amazing scene.
Yes. In this alternate universe, we find out that the guard of where they go when they're pruned is this giant cloud that takes the form of a giant horse, snake, shark, bull, monster fucking thing. And for a moment, Elioth. In one moment, Sylvie sees that she can enchant it. And so one of my favorite moments of the show is when he tells Sylvie that their plan was really just to fucking fight it, and she was just like, you went along with this, and they just kind of shrugged, like, yeah, of course, it's the on-running joke that all the dudes are like, fuck it, we're gonna fight it.
Yep.
And it took one female Loki to just be like, are you fucking stupid? I love that. That was so much better than Star Wars version of this, where the purple-haired captain made Poe Dameron look like a complete fucking dumbass in front of everyone, and Poe Dameron wasn't believable for shit for another movie or so. This was that, but way fucking better. This is what that should have been. Loved it. But through the help of and sacrifice of old Loki, they eventually enchant the smoke and find out that the entrance and or exit is the monster in and of itself. Yeah. And then they find where they have to go. I only ran through that so fast because now we get into the meat and potatoes of this. First of all, the biggest fucking Mark moment. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, before you jump into the Mark moment, we did kind of skip over one thing. And that was the reemergence of Morbius v. Morbius in the pruned world. He's the one that picks up Sylvie after she prunes herself, and she drops into the world, and he picks her up in his little car and his little pizza delivery car, and turns her around and starts running from it. And like you said, that's when she almost gets killed by Elioth, and that's when she discovers that she has the potential to enchant him. The enchantment scene itself was pretty damn dope. And like you said, with the help of classic Loki and him creating an illusion of Asgard to distract the dog, to try to destroy before, unfortunately, the Elioth ends up eating or ends up officially pruning classic Loki, and brings us to this moment where, like you said, the world rips open Elioth. They enchant Elioth and they convince him to open himself up, and you see a castle in the distance. So I assume you, as a man who has read the comic books, may have a better idea of what this castle may be.
The castle. Okay. Of the many things that it could be, I was thinking of our options. I immediately went to the negative zone. The negative and or the phantom zone. No, the negative zone is what Ant-Man went to. Yeah. Cool. Phantom zone. So instead of thinking of this in terms of things like that, I was trying to think, okay, now we're going along the lines of real top shit in terms of mystics and celestial power in this in the MCU. So we're looking at coming close to things like the Watchers, obviously the Celestials, and now I was thinking things like Dormammu even as we come close to this.
Isn't Dormammu still stuck in that time loop? Don't know.
No, he was let out. He was let out.
Okay.
But yeah. Honestly, I can't say what that could be yet, but not because like I want to keep a secret. No, because I can't think off the top of my head. But
this episode is well furthered the love story between Loki and himself. Like, no, it's Loki and Celia. Like they do make the cutest little couple. And even the scene when Loki's like, he's got to be distracted and he's like, I'm going to do this for you. And she's like, no. I'm like, no, man, don't leave her yet.
Yeah, he just nods and goes.
It's
good. Good.
But let's talk about this as well while we go into season 6 or episode 6. We're seeing an alternate Loki redemption arc where it looks like no matter what Loki goes through, he always ends up becoming that anti-hero dude. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, we saw it happen over the course of 10 years in movies, you know what I'm saying, until his death MCU, in the mainline MCU. And now we're seeing a shorter version of it in his 6-episode series.
It's very important to consider that this is indeed Loki number 2. This is the Loki from the universe that which they stole the second set of Infinity Stones from.
Right.
This is that Loki. Our Loki is canonically dead.
Yeah. And so now the only thing I have been disappointed by is I had heard that Gamora was supposed to be showing up in an episode, and maybe it's the finale, but we have not seen her yet. So that's disappointing so far.
That is true. So now, actually, let's work our way backwards. So among the many things in the wreckage that I marked out with and that we saw canonized through this amazing fucking episode, we saw the head of a Celestial, my personal favorite, the one who is tri-headed on each side.
Yeah.
We saw his head in halfway in the dirt, which was fucking awesome. We now have it full canon. Fucking Throg exists in the MCU. Throg is fucking canonized. And he was in his little jar, which is amazing. And then, if you'll notice, before they went into the fight with Ilioth, literally right next to it was the wreckage of the plane that was raided by Thanos when he killed the last remnants of everyone in Asgard and Loki.
Really?
So you can, if you literally the first shot, the shot where it's him and Sylvie first, like facing up with Ilioth, if you look literally right to the left, that's the ship right there. That's the ship that Thanos literally killed all them motherfuckers on.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't notice that. See. Go ahead.
And probably the biggest thing that I fucking marked out about in the entire episode, the fucking Thanos copter is canonized in the MCU. Thanos copter is canon. Most people are like, what the fuck is a Thanos copter? And within the first 15 minutes of the episode 6, if you look in the wreckage, you'll see a yellow helicopter that says Thanos across the back. That motherfucker is the Thanos copter. Back in the very beginning, when Thanos first came into this, there was a fucking the little 3-panel shit where Thanos was like, I gotta escape. I'm gonna get in my Thanos copter. And that motherfucker dead ass hopped in a big yellow helicopter that just said Thanos across it. And he flew away. And it was the dorkiest shit. But it was so fucking funny looking back on it now, watching him be portrayed so seriously and by such Josh Brolin. So it is canon that the Thanos copter exists in the MCU, and that was the best fucking part. And now, one last thing about this episode for me.
Okay.
As we really dive into this. If you'll remember, like I just said, in canon, our Loki is dead. Mainline MCU Loki is dead. But we're watching this from the events and the perspective of Loki number 2. The first beginnings of this show are literally as we watch Loki number 2 begin the events of this show. As they start from Endgame. Remember, walking out and through out of Endgame, one of the few things I said was, our Loki is not dead, I promise. Like, I promise 100% for multiple reasons, our Loki just straight up isn't dead. And we've been running the canon so far that this Loki is dead. And it isn't just the joke that, oh, Loki always comes back from the dead. No. For one, Loki is the god of illusions and trickery. Do you think that Loki, in a moment where he just watched Bruce fucking Banner as the Hulk get his shit rocked by Thanos right in front of him, do you think Loki, knowing that he is physically weaker than most gods even, would go toe-to-toe with Thanos, surrounded by all of his fucking children, and do so blatantly that even Thor would be able to see Loki pull the knife out from behind his back? Nah.
Yeah.
And now, not only that, we also coincidentally in this episode, in the part that I really want to focus in more than anything, we watch OG Golden Age Loki, who is very clearly shown to be capable of amazing fucking power, runs down the entire events that we saw in fucking Infinity War.
Yeah.
And says it tit for tat, and says that I put out an illusion. Thanos thought he killed me.
Done. Yep. It's
and so I have this on-running idea that that wasn't a, hey bro, this is what happened in my verse. This is no, this is what happened in yours as well. You're all still getting fucking duped again.
Yep, pretty much.
But please, go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say is what I love about it is that, and the whole scene with classic Loki got Marvel to admit that they vastly underpowered Loki in the MCU. Like Marvel, Kevin Feige has come out and said it outright that yes, they have vastly underpowered Loki. So hopefully moving forward, that means that we'll be able to see more from the God of Mischief and how powerful he actually is. Maybe this was just like for the Scarlet Witch in WandaVision, this was that waking up moment for him where he begins to realize exactly how powerful he is. You know,
right.
It's funny to me. It's definitely funny to me to watch that happen right in front of us. So
it is also important to consider that like universe restarts, like Rebirth and New 52, also did kind of exist just to nerf a lot of characters because a lot of them were really fucking overpowered.
Yeah.
So the making Golden Age Loki be so crazy fucking powerful could have been their way of hearkening to how powerful characters were back then, without having them shatter the believability and the whole chain of command in the MCU and characters. You know what I mean?
Even though I'd have to say you got to be pretty fucking powerful to stand there with Sylvie and enchant that damn thing. Because like he said, he's like, I don't know how to enchant. She's like, you do. You just haven't figured it out yet. Yeah, exactly. Reminds me of this one scene. Like I said, if you've watched Leverage, then you know who Parker is. And Beth Riesgraf. There's an entire episode that I don't know what the actual name of the episode is on the series, but I call it the I'm Parker episode because she does like 8 or 10 things, and the girl and this other character is like completely like amazed by it, and she's like, I'm Parker. Like, what do you expect me to do? And it's like, that's what we're getting with Loki right now. Like, you're Loki, dude. Like,
you're Loki.
Believe in yourself. Like, you got this. Like, let's do this. But yeah, and I do like the fact that once again, I think they're leaning more towards Sylvie being the Enchantress. And the fact that, you know, unlike all the rest of the Lokis, she doesn't worry about trying to fight things head on. She worries about trying to take them over mentally and enchant them. So,
like I talked about, right? The Enchantress was a person so focused on being non-combative and going around things that way.
Exactly. So highly impressed. Cannot wait to see what I'm literally going to wake up Wednesday morning at 5:30. I'm gonna set my alarm for 5:30 just so I can wake up and watch it before I go to work.
Dude, it's so fucking good, bro. Loki's so fucking good, bro. Snowballed into this amazing momentum.
And it's going to be hilariously fun. All right, bro. So I want to kind of reserve the last 5 minutes here to talk about something that's going to be the next big Marvel hit on Disney Plus. And that is, have you happened to see the trailer for Marvel's What If?
I have not. I do know what If is about only because I read about it when it was released, and I've been reading some stuff up leading up to it, but I was not aware that the trailer is up, though. Please.
Oh, my brother. I'll put it to you like this. I've watched it several times, and my mind is still blown, but the part that blows my mind the most is always the opening scene. It's Tony Stark in fucking the Iron Man thing. The ship blows up. He falls out. Everything happens just as it happens in the movie. The Stark Industries bomb drops right next to him, and all of a sudden, this hand comes out of nowhere, grabs it, and throws it away, and it's fucking Killmonger. And it just shows Killmonger and Tony Stark walking off into the sunset. And Tony looks at him. Do I know you?
Oh my fucking god!
Oh yes,
it's my fucking god!
On like Donkey Kong. I can't wait.
Fucking god, that's so good.
And then also you have to give homage to the fact that it is the last technical appearance of Chadwick Boseman within the MCU. Because I guess I was talking to Saint about about the trailer, and I was asking him, I was like, do you think they'll do the what if Apocalypse won the war or won the battle with the X-Men, so that way they can introduce Nate Gray, X-Men? And he's like, no, because all of these what ifs are rooted in the MCU.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay. So then now I understand it. So now it actually allows me to enjoy it even more, because now I understand I'm going to be getting a whole new generation of what ifs that are solely based off of what I've already seen for the past 10 years in the MCU.
It's so interesting. That's really interesting because it seems like as I usually say, they're going for a weird mix of taking inspirations and bits and pieces from source material and what's already been done and putting their own AAA kind of spin on it,
Yep.
That's really fucking awesome, because I don't know if I heard it from you, and I don't know if I heard it from somebody else, and I don't know where I heard it, but I did hear that there were some sort of plans in some way, shape, or form to do Marvel Zombies.
Nice.
And I'm hyped more than anything for that. That What If was going to explore Marvel Zombies, which is probably one of the most popular comic book lines for very good fucking reason.
Zombie Captain America.
It's the best. Marvel Zombies is good. Marvel Zombies is good, but no, I'm so into that. I love the What If, because it's like I always say, what they need to do with all this is constantly capitalize on a multiverse thing. That is where you're going to find a wealth of content that is almost infinite, in fucking innumerable. So much content and so much stuff for you to work with there. And so now that they're really, really leading into that is chef kiss. Bravo
to them. All right, guys. So we're at our 2-minute warning. So we can go on ahead and wrap it up and tell y'all that we got a lot more coming for you in the second half of the show. Mm-hmm. We got some Bad Batch, and we're going to dissect the first episode of a Netflix series that's probably been on a lot of people's radars for a long time, but just recently jumped up onto mine, and I put it onto Alpha's, and that's a show called RAGNAROK. If you're into, I would say yes, if you like Thor and the MCU and you just want to and you want to engulf anything Thor, then go on ahead and watch it. But understand that this show is more based on Norse mythology version of Thor than it is the MCU, and I love that. And me and Alpha will get into episode 1 and how good that was here after the break. But for right now, you're listening to or you're watching Cheap Pop Podcast right here on the 4 Aces Presents Radio Network, or on YouTube on the Double KK Double Network. Be sure to check out a lot of our other shows. We got KD5P coming this week. Saint killing things over there with Now Versus Then and Now Versus Then Deuce, Mr. Deacon, etc. So just check us out. All right. Peace. are back, y'all. What's up? It's Double KK Double, and I'm here as always with the one and only Alpha. Sir, how you doing?
Here for the second half of the show now. We're going to be diving straight into some Bad Batch now. This show is quickly gaining just as much momentum as Loki, in my opinion. But God, just the fucking cast of characters. I fucking.
I'll tell you this right now. Every time somebody says the name of that show, I hear this bad 80s theme song go through my head. Bad Batch. Anyway. All right, so look. This episode 11, is the one we're going to jump with. Episode 10 was pretty good, Common Ground. Really showed a lot of Omega and kind of isolating her as a character and showing you some more personality out of her.
Absolutely.
But episode 11 just took it to a whole nother level. I was just saying to Alpha while we were off air that one of the things I love about Star Wars series, not just individual movies, but just series, is they have this tendency to have an episode or two that is not based around the core players in the story. Like there were multiple episodes in Clone Wars that were not really about Rex and the main clones that really kicked off the story. There were plenty of them that involved them, but there were plenty of them as well that had absolutely nothing to do with them. And this was an episode that was like that. We're dealing with an Outer Rim world. I forget the name of it, but it's one of those scenes like we saw earlier in Bad Batch where the Empire has now come and take over, and they've convinced the senators and the top people from there to try to convince their people to go along with it. And these people were giving, in this case, it was to convince people to give up their guns. And of course, the Empire always has something sneaky going on. So I'll start, but before I finish off the actual storyline of this particular episode, I'll tell you this: the Bad Batch and Omega only show up once in this episode.
There you go.
Once. Like the entire episode is about completely different characters on this planet that are fighting for some that are a part of the rebellion against the Empire within this country, and then the others that are trying to work with the Empire. And it created a narrative that is classic Star Wars. Good versus bad. Bad always does something really bad, and then bad turns on bad. And that was basically, if I had to break it down to its simplest, like elementary points, that would be the devil's deal.
You're right.
But at the end of the day, it was another great episode because it didn't need the Bad Batch in it, even though Crosshair is in this episode a lot.
Yeah.
So there is one member, but he's fighting for the Empire. So, but yeah,
it's not as in your face as it usually is.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, well, you're not centering everything around Omega and
the
Hunter
team.
And the team. You know what I'm saying? You're giving other people not only screen time, but time to tell stories. And yeah, I was thoroughly impressed. I assume that Bad Batch, that the guys themselves will somehow become involved in this conflict at some point in the near future. But for this episode, it wasn't about them. It was about setting up this story. So any thoughts on this particular episode?
Of course. Like I always say, Star Wars' best trait is always at its world building, is at its peak. You know, George Lucas can be crammed for many things, but you can't say he's not the best fucking world builder of all time, because Star Wars is great at building a world that feels lived in. And like there is events happening in the world, and the events happen because of the world, not the other way around, like so many stories do, where the world is created around the events.
Yeah.
No. George Lucas is great at doing this, and it shines through in so many different ways. And throughout the stories of the Clone Wars, we have lots of episodes like these where we diverge into characters, not Ahsoka, not Anakin, not even Obi-Wan. You know, and we have characters fully based around them, and we rarely see them throughout the episode. And those are some of still even the most entertaining episodes throughout the entirety of the show. This is one of those.
Yeah.
And I always love episodes like these. They're great to fucking have. You know, even if you want to break it down to even when they do this with movies, in my opinion, of the last crop of Star Wars movies, Rogue One is probably still going to be the best one in my opinion.
Exactly.
Probably because of the premise of the fact that it's not a large dot in the story of the rebellion versus the Empire. It's this little moment that could be so easily forgotten despite how much sacrifice went into it. You know, it's one of those little things. It's something so little and small and detailed in the larger part of the universe under a magnifying glass. That is Star Wars at its fucking best.
Well, for me, where it was amazing was on the big screen, it filled in the gap between episode 3 and episode 4. And I mean, it did it perfectly, you know. And of course, you know, you can't talk about that particular movie without talking about that particular ending that was, like I said, that led us directly into the beginning of episode 4 of Star Wars, which came out 30 years its predecessor, or 30 years before it, you know. But you're right. And I think that stories that not only fill in gaps, but fill in gaps without having to use the main roster to do it. That's why I say I think that the Bad Batch will become involved in this particular scenario at some point in the next episode or two. There's supposed to be 16 episodes in the first season of Bad Batch, so we got another 4 or 5 episodes. So I have a feeling that we're going to come back to that planet and that resistance that's going on there. But like you said, it told a great story without having to use the main characters at all.
Yeah, you're right.
So all right, man, let's get into this. For y'all that don't know, okay, Thor is not just a Marvel. It's not like somebody sat down at Marvel and said, you know what, I'm having this dream about this blonde guy with flowy hair, and he's like holding a hammer of sorts. and he can make lightning come down from the ground. Like, nobody sat at Marvel and said that shit and decided to create Thor, the animated character. Thor, the
surprise, Jack Kirby was not the originator of Thor.
Right. Norse mythology told of a man named by the name of Thor, who was the son of Odin, but he was a god. And let's just say this particular show takes such an interesting twist to it. We've spoken about this before when we spoke about Gotham and the way that they did the Joker character on Gotham, and how Joker was more of an idea than he was an actual person.
There you go.
Anybody could be the Joker. This show kind of follows the same thought process when it comes to Thor. That yes, there are chosen ones, etc., but Thor is not somebody that's always the same person. That's, you know, it's Thor, you know, within this 1,000 years, Thor may be this person. Within the next 1,000 years, Thor may be somebody else. And in episode 1, you get introduced to several characters. The main character, Magni, which this show is, I'm going to pre-warn you guys right now. If you go watch it, it's a little bit difficult to watch. I actually have my subtitles turned on and the dub. So
me too. Me too.
It's kind of interesting watching it that way, because not everything directly translates over to what they say on the dubbed.
Like, so you can see what they really meant in the source material, which is
right.
Even fucking better, because you can see what they really, what the words they exactly meant to use in the source material, which I like that.
Really, right. So you were introduced to Magni, his brother Laditz, who, once again, I've said this multiple times to you before, does dude not look like a young Tom Hiddleston?
He does, and I was going to point that out. That I was like, I looked at him and I was like, man, he literally just shades of a weird 13-year-old Tom Hiddleston. Hold on to that.
But yes, and then you're introduced to the Jutus,
you got
and Fjord, and a lot of it's Swedish, y'all. Like the entire movie
all Icelandic. It is all Icelandic shit.
I forget what the sister's name is. Damn it. Sexa. Yeah. Sexa is her name. And then you're introduced to and had it taken away from you in episode 1. My favorite character
Mm-hmm.
is Isolde. Yeah. Like,
and
man.
So,
yeah.
Man. We have this classic story of new kid comes to small town and fucking hates it there, gets pushed around immediately, finds one obscure friend, and we go from here. But now, obviously, we have a Nordic twist on this.
Yes.
While you are already very far ahead of me, I'm still walking into this, but I'm walking into this as somebody who is fucking obsessed with mythology, more specifically Norse mythology. I fucking love most kinds of mythology like this. I study up on it in my free time fucking extensively. And so now, as somebody who's only seen episode 1, I want to dive lots into what I see already and what I already know. But before I do that, the final, as you said, this episode ended with him losing his first immediate friend there, Isil. Yeah. And this is important because I do like the story beat of we have someone who's had nothing, and then for just a moment they see what it's like to have something, and then it's ripped away from them brutal.
Yeah.
And so she's taken away by the end of the episode, she spends the whole episode hyping up how she wants to go gliding with him. Mm-hmm. By happenstance, she has to do it alone. And by the end of the episode, she's coming down, gliding, hits a power line, shocked, dead on the spot.
Yep.
I
he
do
just
want
happens
to say,
to be there to see it.
Yeah. I just do want to note that it is really, really interesting that she's built up to be a pro paraglider, but as she's falling, she's just falling in circles as if she's not in control, and then hits the wires. And then when she hits the wires and comes to the ground, despite suffering burn marks, her nose is busted. So I do just want to cling on to that as we roll along here, but how about we finish that statement, how about we keep playing Eagle Eye with Alpha, huh? And let's start right from the beginning. From what I know, the old hapless old man is very clearly some form, shade, reference, or avatar of fucking Odin. 1, because the man only has one eye, and 2, because Odin is known to get into humane affairs by masquerading as a hapless old fuck, doing absolutely nothing. He's picked up by an old woman who sees a little bit of something in our main character here, and it's very important to note that Odin is notoriously surrounded by a group of hags and witches that constantly keep his counsel. Yeah. And, as we see him roll through this episode, we see him start to take shades of becoming needlessly physically powerful and unbelievably valiant and wanting to help people out for no good reason, as if to be beginning to channel a god of heroism and strength, as his little brother, who in the last in the beginning half of the episode had absolutely no form of almost no form of personality, begins to show shades of beginning to morph into like a trickster, becoming a little more wanting to fuck with him, prod at him, wanting to make him mad a little bit. And so as we roll along and they start to morph this way, we do see that the man that his mother is a little too well acquainted with has his dog with him. And this I immediately picked up on because my personal favorite god in all of the Nordic pantheon and mythology is Tyr, the Hound of Justice.
Okay.
Tyr is a one-handed man who is known for willingly giving it and putting it in the mouth of Fenrir, the frightful wolf god. Wow. And so you see, interesting here, how the man who has a dog named Tyrm mysteriously takes off all of his clothes, channels wolf-shaped eyes, hunts down a deer and rips its fucking heart out and then eats it. So I'm of the belief that he is channeling or beginning to channel some form of Fenrir as we run along here. Okay. And then shit, is that it? Well, obviously he just threw his fucking hammer out and
That was the greatest scene. He just randomly picks it up, looks at it. Whew.
Literally. I'm mad. Fuck this hammer. Yeet. Good night. And then the fucking hammer in the distance, fucking thunder goes off, and he looks at it like, "Oh fuck, what have I done?" It's the best, you know? And obviously, yeah, you can see as we go along here, the weather, specifically the rain and thunder, begins to correlate directly with his emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
amen.
As anyone can see where this is leading, but the way that they are doing it is subtle in all of the best ways.
And let me tell you this. By the time season 1 is over, and season 1 is only 6 episodes. By the time season 1 is over, or should I say it like this? Netflix has a history of slow rolling things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I brought it up when we talked about each one of the Marvel series, how they didn't show us Daredevil in his full uniform until end of season 1. You didn't really get the Kingpin Daredevil fight until the end of season 1. Same thing with Luke Cage. You didn't really see him in the yellow shirt and all that until the end of the season. Again with this, Netflix slow rolls you to what you already know is happening. I will say this: as you watch, pay attention to that family, because I'm thinking with the way that you're looking at it now, I think there's going to be a nice swerve in it for you.
There is. I'm betting.
Yeah. And I will say this: the movie, the show doesn't have a lot of fight scenes right now. Throughout the first season, there's a lot of storytelling that goes on. But when they do have fight scenes, they're fucking badass.
I'm ready.
They are fucking badass.
I'm into
it. Without giving away, you know, I want to let you watch it and have you have that same thing that I did, because this show was recommended to me by a friend of mine. Her name is Rita. Happy birthday, Rita. She got a birthday coming up.
Birthday.
We'll say she was introduced to me by her, and then I recommended it to Suave from West Coast Bias. He binged the entire series, season 1 and season 2. Called me the next day and was like, "Dude, you need to watch this shit." Now, mind you, I had only gotten about 2 episodes in. I was like, "Ooh, I like it," but I'm kind of pissed that they killed off his soda in episode 1, man. Like, fuck this show. I'd take a break from the show because I was emotional over that shit. Like, that's my girl, man. Like, I like that bitch. Like, why, man? And so, like, but my little sis got on me. She got me to start watching it again. And I got through to the end of the season, and I'm like, now I'm starting season 2, and I'm like, yeah, I'm all about this show. Can't wait for season 3, if there's going to be a season 3, because yeah, it is what it is. Just to kind of kill a little bit of time, okay? We'll wrap up RAGNAROK there. I'm going to give you guys a quick Kevin's review. Okay, and I kind of gave this to Alpha before the show.
Lightning round. Let's go.
Right. This weekend, I was blessed to go to a movie with my sister. And the reason why I was blessed to go to that movie with my sister is because me and her think a lot alike. We went and saw Fast and Furious 9.
Oh, boy.
I'm a huge fan of the Fast and Furious movies. Let me just put that out there before I say this, okay? I am a huge fan of the Fast and Furious series. And this movie had a lot of great points. But for every great point, there was about 10 scenes that jumped the shark so damn high that the shark was a speck on the ground when they hit the peak of this jump. Okay, I thought they had done it all. When I saw, I want to say it's Fast 6 or something like that, when Dom sees Letty get flipped off the tank, so he drives and he's hanging out the fucking car and he's like sitting there driving, and he jumps on the top of the car and then jumps up and catches her in midair, and she gets flung from the tank and then safely lands on the top of another car with her. I thought that was bad. This shit puts everything that they've done before this to shame. And I mean every stunt. I will say this: Negroes and Fieros in space. That's all I can say to you. Go see the movie. Understand what I'm talking about. Negroes and Fieros in space. It ain't right.
Shit.
So, but yeah, just but even with that being said, the self-deprecating way that the movie was written, where they kind of laugh at themselves a lot, makes it very much worth watching. Like I told you before, the storytelling in the movie reminds me of the first movie, and it fills in a lot of Dom's storyline. For those of you who don't know who Dom is Dominic Toretto. Fills in a lot of his storyline, where when you were first introduced to him in the first Fast and Furious movie, he was this dude that had snapped. He had just got done doing time in jail because he had beat a dude to death because the dude crashed into his dad and da-da-da-da. You come to find out everything that happened with that, and it's very eye-opening, and it's a very good development of that particular character. And like I told you off air as well, they did a really good job of including Paul Walker's character without ever actually having to show him on screen. But yeah, Fast 9, I can't recommend. I can't not recommend it enough. Like go see it, enjoy it. But when you do go see it, enjoy it for what it is, folks. Instead of looking at how ridiculous some of the stunts are, that
one of those things.
Just enjoy. This is what this movie franchise has become. Okay, like the dude said in this video, in this TikTok video I watched, it used to be about racing cars and drinking beers, Coronas to be more specifically. They kept the Coronas and decided to start doing some world saving shit, and just go see it.
It's great, man. It does give me shades of a game that I grew up playing and I still play with my little brother a lot, called Payday, where you start out robbing banks and liquor stores for chump change, and by the end you're accidentally robbing warheads and shit like that. It's
Holy
great.
Shit.
I'm into that, man. Though. I can't wait to see myself and bring in my insights and thoughts on it.
For sure.
But you did say you wanted to finish with some recommendations, right?
Yes, sir. So I started off last time. You kick us off this time with your recommendation.
Okay. I don't know how much I've talked about it here, but I'm going to gush about it one more fucking time. If you're into anime, and if you're specifically into violent anime that teeters on being way too fucking gory and has way too good of fucking fight scenes, do yourself a favor and go watch Castlevania on Netflix. Nice. I was a huge fan of the video game franchise, but I cannot sing the praises of this enough. As somebody who likes video games, movies, and anime all in isolation of each other, I realize how often it's shit when these things come together and it's not done correctly, or it's done in a way that definitely could be done better. Like the Halo anime, there's some things like that. They weren't horrible, but they could have done better. This, on the other hand, is amazing. It takes the Castlevania source material and the world of, and does a great job of creating its own content in the world of Castlevania in the same events of the beats of the games. It incorporates new shit as well as source material and fucking amazingly, and introduces a whole cast of characters to the world that were arguably just as good as if they just started plucking people from the franchise. Cannot recommend it enough. If you're into anime, do that shit. The whole shit is on Netflix, and it just finished up its final 4th season, and it's worth every fucking second.
I've heard that there's been comparisons to the Devil May Cry anime series.
Absolutely, 100%.
Nice. I enjoyed that one.
Stylistically, yeah, it's a lot like Devil May Cry, as well as Devilman Crybaby, which is also on Netflix. It's reminiscent of those, which is both worth a watch, but this especially, as it gets to the end visually, it's fucking amazing. I highly recommend it. I think you specifically would fucking adore it.
All right.
Yeah.
And okay, so that was Alpha's recommendation.
That was recommendation.
Now here comes mine. I just finished, literally today, over the past 2 days, watching a new series that's based off an old series. For anybody who watched the series Leverage, with Timothy Hutton as Nate Ford and Beth Riesgraf as Parker, and damn it, I can't remember his name, is Alec Hardison, as Hardison. Christian Kane is Elliot Spencer. If you enjoyed that show, you'll enjoy Leverage Redemption. They didn't bring back Timothy Hutton. He no longer wanted to play the Nate Ford character. So his character has actually been killed off in this series. We opened with the fact that Nate Ford has passed away. But Nate Ford's death is what brings the crew back together, and they brought back pretty much all of the originals for the first episode or two, and then the guy who played Alec Hardison left and doesn't come back before the end of the season. But it was good seeing Hardison again for the first couple of episodes before he's replaced by basically his cousin or his little sister as the new hacker for the crew. So basically you have the crew of Sophie, you have Noah Wiley playing this lawyer named Harry Wilson. You have Beth Reeves Graff as Parker. You have this other woman as Parker's, as Hardison's cousin or sister. And then you have Christian Kane as Elliot Spencer. And they're doing jobs the same way that they did jobs on Leverage. And it was just, like I said, it was just nice to see the band back together. If you enjoyed it, it's only 8 episodes for the first season.
Okay.
We'll get another one. It's on IMBD TV app, and it's free. It has commercials in it, but it's free. So I thoroughly enjoyed it myself. I hope that somebody else can get some good viewing out of that recommendation. Like I said, if you enjoyed Leverage, brother, I think you should check it out as well. It's like I said, there's I said earlier, there's an entire episode in it that I don't even know the name of the episode. I just call it the I'm Parker episode because Beth Greaser does like 8 or 10 things that leave people with their mouths dropped, and her response to them every time is, "I'm Parker."
I'm Parker.
And they're like, "How did you do that?" "I'm Parker." Like she steals not to give away too much, but there's an episode where they're on this riverboat. It's this episode. They're on this riverboat, and there's this pearl sitting in the middle of the thing. And at the end of it, Parker pulls it out, and she's like, "Here." She gives it to the new girl, and the new girl's like, "But how? You never even went near. You were never at any part of the boat near the how?" And she just walks up. She's like, "I'm Parker." And I'm just like, if you've watched the original 5 seasons, yes, that's Parker. Like she does shit that is crazy, it's fun, and all of it's there. So,
that's so good, man.
Leverage Redemption. That's especially for any Leverage fan. I say that's my recommendation for this one. All right, man. So we're down to our 2-minute warning. Let me tell the people, be sure to catch us next week. We'll be talking some wrestling. It looks like we'll probably, no, Money in the Bank isn't until next Sunday. So unless you want to record on Monday, we won't be doing Money in the.
Well, one way or another, we'll either be doing results and reactions, or we'll do
preview. Yeah. So one way or another, we'll be doing Money in the Bank next week, and we'll be getting back to them big sweaty men. And then in 2 weeks, we'll get back to talk the Loki finale. And by then we'll be a couple more episodes into Bad Batch. And we'll hopefully have a little bit more information about the What If series to talk to. But that's it for us this week. Be sure to click and subscribe, my friends. And Alpha, last words for him, brother.
You know how it goes. It is a hot summer day, and we are coming at you once again. Now we're going to be coming at you next week with some big sweaty men. Man, I'm so hyped. I'm so hyped. Please be safe, my people. And before we go, Loki Cest is fucking confirmed and canon alongside with the Thanos fucking copter. I am juiced and we're rolling. Peace.
Hell yeah. And Crocodile Loki is still my favorite Loki. Peace.